Today, the program has gone far beyond its original objective of pacifying the gangs. It's now helping the boys in many ways, with school, jobs, and recreation. It's successful because the workers are men like Carlos, who understand the boys' problems.
I walked out.
Don't you think about going back to school?
No.
Why?
Working. I'm a working boy.
I know you've been sick.
I'd rather be kicked to death by a grasshopper.
I go back to school.
That's right.
Why?
I don't like school.
Are you learning anything in the outside?
Yeah.
Like what?
No comments on the grounds of the Fifth Amendment. No, I don't want to answer that question.
You don't want to answer why you don't like school? No. Okay, I see it.
Yeah. The real answer lies in the indigenous people themselves. Because if it becomes policy of the neighborhood to finish school, then baby, you finish school. This is where it's at.
Kids will listen to other kids who they respect and who are sympathetic to their problems. Based on this idea, a handful of rehabilitation centers have been started right in some communities.
I know the program is doing good in the Puerto Rican area, a hell of a good.
This is Chicago, and a program which is working directly with the gang on the block. This is Carlos Castro, a high school dropout. Just a few years ago, he was part of a fighting gang. Now he's part of the program and is trying to get the gangs to stop fighting. These are the leaders of the gangs in his area.
And if you do, you're going to wind up like Chagrin or Pepe. You know? 199 years and 188. You know? You know how long Pepe got. 188, state 7, good deal. You know, they gave him a break. Chagrin, he's got 199, you know? But now, these two guys were buddies, brother. They were friends. They game banged together, they drank together. Chagrin ate at Pepe's house. They were tight, brother. They were real mellow, you know? But one day, they went out there and shot that boy.
The program is run by the Chicago YMCA and other community organizations. The original workers were a handful of college-educated outsiders. There are now 500 workers, all of them, like Carlos, indigenous to the neighborhood in which they work.
Basically, the old attached worker program was to stop the gang fight. This was basic.
Hank Bach, one of the leaders of the program.
Hopefully hasten the split up of certain individuals in the group so that the people can function as individuals rather than in group norms. We found that what would happen is we'd work with the group would have a tendency to cool off in a year or two, and they'd take the worker and they'd put him in another neighborhood, and he'd start with another girl. But what you find then in another year or so, you'd have to come back to the same neighborhood, start all over again. So what we're trying to do now is capitalize on the leadership that has been developed in the group and use this leadership in a legitimate sense. You take a kid from an older group, and let's say the junior group in the neighborhood, and one of the younger guys comes up to him, and the older guy says, hey, Butch, why don't you go steal me a pack of cigarettes? And the young kid says, well, no, man. He says, if I get caught, I'm on probation. I'm going to go back to St. Charles or something like that. And he slaps the kid across the side of the head, and he says, go steal me that pack of cigarettes. And the kid runs over and picks up the pack of cigarettes out of the store and runs back and gives them to the man, and he fawns at his feet, you know, because this is my hero. You know, this is my God in my little neighborhood. All right, now you take that same older guy, and although he may never have graduated from high school, you sell him the story. You make it important to him, the status and the recognition and the identification to something. And he sees the same kid, and he says, hey, Butch, how come you're not in school today? And Butch says, well, man, I didn't feel like going today. And he slaps the kid across the side of his head and says, you go to school. All this is a change in norms, same kind of behavior.
Updating it technologically. Chicago also has a shortage of men, but Wilson counteracted this by taking all his men off the footbeats and placing them in brightly painted cars. They are conspicuous and seem to be everywhere. The cars are linked to a $2 million communication center, the most modern in the world.
1915, 10-4, now the...
It handles 5,000 calls a day.
Chicago Police Officer Miller.
You're on Walcott now?
Yeah. Okay, that's a tough one from a truck, right?
What's your location, 1903?
Using this map, a dispatcher can tell instantly which car is closest to the scene of a crime in progress and dispatch it within 30 seconds of receiving the call. Not too long ago, a Chicagoan might wait 2 to 3 hours for a policeman to respond to an emergency call. Today, a car is usually on the scene within 2 to 3 minutes.
It's 22 years old, man.
Wilson thinks that if he were to use men on foot to provide the service he's providing today, he would need a force of not just 13,000 men, but more than 100,000 men. The computer is another important factor in Chicago's declining crime rate. Daily, it is fed all crime data. It digests it and predicts crime patterns. If, based on the data it receives, the computer decides some areas will have a higher crime rate than others, more cars are sent to that area.
I'd like to check out an Illinois 65, Robert Nora, 8535, on a 65 Chevy for Hackett Cove.
Henry Boy, 8347, Illinois.
It is also being used to store other types of information and aid in arrests. The license number of the man's car is called into the communication center and fed into the computer through an electric typewriter. On the memory drum of this computer are filed the names and records of 90,000 persons and vehicles. Within seconds, the machine checks the license number and finds that the car has been reported stolen and relays the information back to the police.
Longfellow.
223.
We have a hot one. 1014 machine has a hot one.
Thank you very much, sir. That car is hot.
But even if all police departments were as modern as Chicago's, it would not be enough.